What can a lender do to help my offer look better and to win the house that I want in this tough seller's market? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. All right, hey guys, welcome back. My name is Eric Sztanyo from Keller Williams Realty and TeamStanyo.com, where we are helping you find your home and strengthen your family. I'm here today again with Jeff Bostic of Guaranteed Rate. He's a lender that we refer to a lot of our clients. He does a great job. His team's amazing. You don't have to use him, but you can because he's pretty cool. And he does a good job. So here's where we're at. The market is crazy.
Bonkers.
It's bonkers. It's really tough for buyers because there are a lot of you out there. There are a lot of buyers and there are very few houses to buy. And so you've got strong buyer demand, you've got low seller inventory. And so that can create very, very competitive situations. You may see a house that you love, you would be perfect for your family, you want to buy it, but unfortunately 30 other people also want to buy it or more. Yeah, I heard just this week, some of the agents in my office were part of a deal that had 55 offers. That's maybe the highest I've heard, but that's like, I mean,
how do you present that to your seller as a listing agent?
Okay, so what we want to talk about is what can we do to make our offer better? Are there any tricks of the trade?
Yes, there are.
Yeah. So Jeff, tell us what can we do to make our offer and help our buyers be more competitive when they're trying to win that house?
Lots of tricks here, and I don't want to call them tricks. We're providing a service, right? But not everybody's doing that.
That's right.
And so we want our buyers' offers to win. That's how we all win, right? So the first thing I recommend is, one, work with somebody local. Mm-hmm. If a listing agent or a seller's reviewing 10 offers and they've got 3.com pre-approvals, they might not have an experience with them or a favorable experience. And so working with somebody local that has a reputation in the market, a reputation that is going to have great communication, is going to close on time, is going to deliver a personal service, and that people just trust.
Yeah, I'll speak to this from the agent standpoint. If I'm on not the buyer side, but the listing side, and I've got two identical offers, all things considered, but one is from Rocket Mortgage or whatever, or Quicken, and it's like, if you need to get a hold of that lender, you're going through 20 levels of customer service. It's just challenging. Now, they could still get it done. I've closed with deals like that, but versus somebody like Jeff, who I've worked with before, or another local lender is like, yeah, I know they got their stuff together, they communicate great, and they're going to get it done. It's a big deal. And when I'm presenting that to my seller, I'll put that in more. It's not that I'm trying to scratch your back or anything like that. It's just like, I know this will be an easier process than this. And so that's a real thing. So it really is. Working with a local lender is a real thing. Okay, what else?
Yeah, so the second thing I would say is, and this is more new in this market because it's so competitive, is we are doing fully underwritten before you find a house loan commitments. So that means we just take that pre-approval a step further. When we do a pre-approval, I, as a lender, as a loan officer, I review your income, I review your credit, and I run something called an automated underwriting system, AUS. That'll tell me, do you fit within whatever program it is? Taking it a step further means an underwriter actually reviews all those documents. They put their stamp of approval on it, which is really how we get a loan approved.
And normally that process is once you're under contract.
Normally it's after you're under contract, and there is a loan commitment date written into the contract these days. We will do that before you find a house. That way we can tell a seller, hey, this buyer is absolutely ready to go. Yep. They are approved. All we're going to need is an appraisal and title work most of the time, and we could close this. And sometimes we can close it super quick. If that is an incentive for that seller and you want a 15 or 20 day close, we can make that happen on these.
So that's awesome. Here's why this matters again to the sellers. Now, if you're working with a buyer's agent, what they should be doing is calling the listing agent and saying, what terms matter to your seller?
Absolutely.
Because they're not always the same. But you're having that conversation, but usually besides getting the most amount of money, you also want the cleanest offer. You want to know that the person who you're going to sell the house to is going to close. There's not going to be any hassles, and having this fully underwritten loan commitment is like one step up where they're a stronger buyer.
Yep.
And so, next to cash, which is really the only thing that could kind of beat that.
Right.
This person is basically all the way approved, and it's going to be smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, very, very, very strong offers. And I think it just helps, your offer rise to the top.
Yeah. Yep. And anything to help you rise from the other offers. It helps. It all does matter. So, okay, any other thoughts? Any other forms of service?
Yeah,
not tricks.
So property inspection waivers or appraisal waivers are something new within the past couple of years.
Okay.
And what that is that is Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac looking at the overall characteristics of the data they have on a specific property and saying, do we need an appraisal or do we not need an appraisal? And that's important right now because if you can bypass the appraisal process, especially as house prices have increased, the last thing we want after we get an accepted offer, you go through all the hoops, you beat out 10 or 15 other offers, is for that appraisal to come in low.
Yep.
Right. And now that seller has to sit there and go through, do we want to accept this lower offer or do we want, and so there's some ways around that, but we can find out if you're going to put 20% down, and that is the kicker.
Okay.
You do have to put
20% down.
20% down payment to qualify for an appraisal waiver. But if you're going to put 20% down, we can find out if that will qualify before you write your offer, so that when you're writing it, as long as you're going to write an offer, we'll run it through the system, find out if it qualifies, and that way you can include it in your offer.
That's very cool. So generally speaking, you have a few contingencies when you're writing an offer in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area. There's an inspection contingency, there's a financing contingency, and there's an appraisal contingency. And what you're saying is you could get an inspection or an appraisal waiver.
Yep.
Again, what you're doing is presenting to the seller, this thing's going to close. You don't need to worry about it. We are strong, and it's going to be easy for you.
Absolutely. And I get the question a lot, is there a benefit from a buyer to waive the appraisal? And I say, yes, one, it makes your offer strong, but two, the appraisal is done for the bank. It's not done for the buyer. It's done for us as a collateral standpoint. And in at least where we're at, an appraiser sees the contract.
Yeah.
So at this point, it becomes a target of, can I hit the contract price? And it does happen more than 90% of the time, at least on my purchases, as we ran through the numbers, they hit the contract price or higher. So being able to bypass that, it just saves you time and money and makes your offer stronger.
Okay, let's talk about appraisal gaps a little bit and what is happening with appraisals. And so if you guys are following and tracking with us on this, because of the low inventory, because of the high buyer demand, and if you can picture yourself, and maybe you're one of these people who have gone out there and you've offered on one house and you lost, and you offered on another house and you lost, and you offer on a third house or a fourth or a fifth, you start getting desperate. You're like, you show up to your agent and you have these wild eyes and you're like, we're gonna go 75,000 over, but that's legit happening out there. But now you have a problem because the bank wants to underwrite the loan for what the house is worth, not what the contract price is.
Right.
And so let's say the house is under contract for $350 or $450 or whatever it is. Let's say $450, but the appraisal comes back at $425 or something like that. So what is something that can happen with an appraisal gap here?
Yeah, so a couple different options there. You don't always just have to pay the gap, right? You don't have to pay the $25,000 out of pocket. So depending on how we structured that offer based on your cash, how much equity you had, maybe you're selling a property. But if you were putting 10% down on $450, you were putting $45,000 down. If it appraises at $425, now we use the lesser of the appraised value or sale price when we're determining a loan amount. But I can still do a 5% down loan option likely at $425, and your cash out of pocket, maybe the difference might be nominal, or it might be actually the same. And so I've had that happen. And you could write a $25,000 appraisal gap in there to help incentivize that seller to want to accept your offer if you're willing to cover a short appraisal.
Got it.
Okay. So at 10%.
If you guys need to, just rewind back about 20 seconds and watch that again.
This can be hard for even industry people to kind of wrap your head around and understand. When we're doing a loan or when we're structuring a mortgage, it's based on a percentage of your down payment. That's 5 or 10 or 15 or 20% down. Now, the more you put down, generally the terms improve. Not always, but generally the terms improve. But if I need to restructure at a lesser down payment off of the low appraised value, it might not necessarily mean more out of pocket to you. Some things might change, might be higher PMI or some other things. So maybe your payment goes up slightly, but you won the deal.
But you won.
Yeah, and terms are still going to be favorable right now. PMI has gotten incredibly like there's other things that are in your favor as a buyer in this market right now.
So that's worth a conversation. If you're really, if you're trying to go in hot and heavy and strong, and when you offer an appraisal gap to the seller, you're saying, even if this appraises short of what the contract price is, I'm going to cover it.
Absolutely.
And so the sellers are like, great, like I don't have any risk here. Yeah, I'll do that all day long. In fact, some listing agents and sellers have gotten so bold and brazen, I feel like they're asking for that, like up front. They're like, hey, give us the appraisal gap. And you mentioned before we started recording here, for appraisals, they're looking at history of, it doesn't mean that the house isn't worth that.
Absolutely.
But they're looking at past sales. And so you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So in a rising market, or as far as in an appreciating market, right? It's because of the demand, but it's also houses tend to appreciate anyway, but the demand's just speeding it up right now. As sales occur, that creates new data. If the last sale was 400 and the next sale is 420, now there's new data. But if all the prior sales were at 350, they just haven't caught up yet. So then we need another sale at 425 and then another at 430. And as this data points start to hit, now we have a new sale price. And we typically need 3 comparable sales to justify a value. Mm-hmm. So after 3 to 4 sales occur, now we know it's established, and then that market might continue to push, and we start to see market adjustments. If the house sold 12 months ago, there's going to be but data happens as more sales occur. And so as the markets shift and more data, you'll see the values start to maybe level out, or at least more data to justify it.
So if you're thinking of doing something like that on the appraisal gap, that's certainly a conversation to have with your agent, with your loan officer, in terms of, because there's a line that's too far, right? Sure. That you don't want to be, upside down. You don't want to put yourself in a bad financial situation. So it depends on how you feel about that neighborhood. There's a lot of factors in that. It's a conversation worth having, and it's something that could help you win the deal. Absolutely.
And I think the longer time you think you're going to be in a house, the less risk you have, right? If this is a short-term 2 to 3 year house, you might not want to go too high, but if this is 5-10 year house, values will catch up.
That's a good point.
Sure.
Okay. What else? Any other thoughts here that might help win the deal?
Making sure your offer is non-contingent, I think, is a big one right now. And when I say non-contingent, there are contingencies written into offers, but the biggest one being, do you have a house to sell?
Yes.
And while houses are selling like hotcakes, like that, they're going out of style. If you have that contingency, if something blows up in that is a red flag.
Let me step back and explain what that means, right? Yeah. If you own a house right now, and the only way you can qualify and get pre-approved for the next house is you have to sell your current house, and then you go to try to offer on a new house without having sold yours yet, your pre-approval letter says it's contingent on the sale of your current home. And so that just, in terms of like stacking all those offers we talked about below, that just puts you just like down at the bottom of the deck, basically. Because like Jeff said, even though houses are selling, like there's a good chance they're going to sell, there's more complicated factors in that. Something could go wrong with the inspection. It could delay things. Maybe the seller of the home you want to buy needs to be closed by a certain date so that they can buy their next house. And so it makes everything more complicated. It makes sellers want to be like, nah, I don't want that. So you're saying there's something they can do to make it not contingent?
Yeah, that's the one thing, whether you're working with us or another lender, let's explore that. And sometimes you need the down payment out of your house in order to put on the new house. It's not about affording the payments. Mm-hmm. And another little trick I like to say is, a lot of people say, I don't want to make 2 house payments.
Right.
Well, good news, when you buy a house, let's say we're going to close next month. Next month is March. Your first payment's not until May.
Right.
So there is a little bit of gap, so you might not need to make 2 payments, but sometimes it's not about qualifying for them both. Sometimes it's just you need the equity. And if you need the equity, we have options for that. Okay. And so we can talk through that. Sometimes there might be an option to borrow from a 401k short term, right? There's always options if we ask the right questions to kind of lead you down that. It's not always, I need to sell my house so I can buy the next one.
Yep.
And if you're trying to win an offer right now, we want to explore every option to make you not contingent on the sale of this house so that you can buy the next one.
Yeah, that's great. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of different possibilities, a lot of different options that can help you stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to do when it is really competitive like this. And there's other tips that kind of the realtors have of like, write the letter, like put a picture of your smiling kids on it, like do all the things. Maybe those things don't help, but maybe they do. And maybe you tug on the heartstrings of the sellers, and we love this home. We want to raise our family here. throw it all out there. Maybe something will stick, because if you do win, you know, and because it might not be just I mean, this happened to me the other day. I had a house that I was actually selling personally, and there was one that was more money, and there was one where there was a really good letter that pulled like emotionally pulled at me, and I gave them it was like, it impacted me, right? So these tips we're talking about here are just ways to kind of help you stand out, help you win that deal, help you buy that home.
Absolutely. And we just want to put your best foot forward.
Okay. So you guys know how to get a hold of me. It's down below. If you want to work with Team Sztanyo to help you buy or sell a house in the Northern Kentucky area, it's eric.sztanyo@kw.com. You can email me directly. Jeff, how can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, call or text at 513-633-0504, or visit my website and you can get started there. And that is rate.com/Jeff Bostic.
Guys, in this market, you need a strong team who has some experience and can help you win the deal. So we'd love for you to reach out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope it was helpful for you. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.